Hi, welcome to our new project. Today we're going to start something called a natural mosaic. And if you don't know the word mosaic is when you take a bunch of small pieces. Often in fine art it would be small pieces of tile and ceramic, and you would use those small pieces of color to make your large piece of artwork. Kind of similar to a collage, which is probably something you've done before. And we'll be doing natural mosaics in the style of an artist called Hannah Bullenreiner. She has kind of perfected the art of the natural mosaic, and she tends to make these cute little birds and little fairy creatures. So we're going to look at a few examples from her. And before we dive in on how exactly to do this, because that's not too complicated really, I wanted to talk really quickly about an art concept to help make your piece a little bit stronger. And that's called contrast. But what contrast really means is kind of also what you might just call pop. Do the colors pop? And so let's really quickly look at that. So here's one of the Hannah Bullenreiner birds, and notice what colors it has. So you're going to mostly find this yellow, this blue, and this green. So what I'm going to do is pull up this color wheel, and I want you to find yellow, blue, and green on the color wheel and see where they sit next to each other. So if you'll notice, they're all neighbors. They're all right next to each other on the color wheel, which means they're all related and they have a lot in common. So while this is a really pretty thing and it's soothing on the eye, let's look at this next one and notice what colors that one has. Cool. So it's these kind of red oranges, again that green, and it's got this kind of purpley blue. So let's find that also on our color wheel. And you'll see that they're all on the opposite sides from each other, really, like they're all as far from each other as they could be. So those colors that are farther apart from each other have a stronger contrast, which, you know, in the day-to-day life, you would just say those colors really pop. So I would just suggest to be mindful as you go outside and start collecting the stuff you want to use to build. If you find everything that's just brown and green, because that's easy to find in nature, your art might not have that little pop that you really want to it. So just consider that the colors, the less similar they are to each other, the more visible they'll be and the more exciting they'll be for the person looking at your piece of art. Box, but if you just grab anything to collect stuff in, like a bag or a bowl or a box or something, I would basically start with just run around outside, pick up little bits and bobs of things that you think are interesting. In all of our examples, she used really natural stuff like leaves and pine cones and berries, but you could also pick up just like anything that you find inside or outside, as long as you have permission to use it. So it doesn't have to be quite as like natural hippy dippy as hers was. So yeah, I'm gonna run outside, I'm gonna find stuff. I'm gonna focus on, does it have a shape that I think would be fun to build with? And does it have interesting colors? You know, if I find only brown stuff, that probably won't be that exciting. Another thing, as you get started to think about, is I don't know yet what I'm going to build. Just because all of her examples are birds, that's not what I'll do. I'll do something different. So maybe, I think what I'll do is, depending on what I find, I'll see how I'm inspired and what I can make with it. But if you know ahead of time that you want to make a certain thing, then as you're going out and collecting, you can think about, what is the thing I want to make? Do I definitely need something black? Do I definitely need some feathers? You know, kind of figure out, yeah, what you're looking for. But I don't know what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to go play and find things, and then I'll bring them back and tell you a little bit about the process for building. So I would suggest, especially because there's been crazy weather lately, I would suggest working indoors, because this is the first time I've tried this project and I had fun doing it, but if a wind had come and blown away my work in progress, I would be devastated. I'd be real sad. So probably worth doing inside. Also probably worth doing in your own space if you do have that. Either if you have your own bedroom, it might be good to work there so that nobody, like little brother or sister, could mess it up. I was working in the living room here, and I was just afraid the whole time my roommates would come home and open the door and a wind would blow it all away. So just be super smart when you start working that you're working in a safe place, so that if you do a bunch of detail work with this like dry leaves and stuff, it doesn't get destroyed. I'm going to show you my example. I ended up making this little red panda just because they're super cute, and I was like, what would I actually enjoy working on? And I love red pandas. They just make the cutest little faces and stuff. So I pulled up a reference picture. I was working off of that. You can kind of see those on the screen and see. And you know what? I didn't get it perfect, especially the face. Like, I don't have white fluffy stuff in my yard, so I just used these dry leaves, and I think, you know, for me it worked. It's not about perfection, it's just about creating. And I guess what my final thought is, when you look at my final piece, you don't have to do that. Like, I probably worked on this 2 hours longer than I expect you guys to, because I just enjoyed it a lot. I find working with my hands and building sometimes feels better than drawing or painting, and I find it really relaxing. So once I started, I just enjoyed myself and I went kind of crazy with it. So feel free to come up with like a smaller or more simple design, maybe working for 20 minutes to build something or half an hour, but you know, I don't expect your masterpiece to come out of this like leaf collage. So and lastly, I guess one more nuts and bolts kind of thing. None of these are made with fixatives, which would mean glue or some kind of adhesive or taped down or anything. You just make them and that's it. You don't stick them down with anything. And when they're done, you know, if you make it outside, when it's done, it'll just blow away. Here inside, I'm gonna take the broom to this real soon and sweep it up. There's a word for that, and it's called ephemeral. I don't know if you've heard that word, but I love it. It means something that's just here for a short time. Like a sunset can be ephemeral. So we're making an ephemeral art piece. Luckily, we live in the age of phones, like phone cameras, so, you know, we can capture it and show it to the other people or show it to somebody in the future, but in general, this is not a thing that's gonna last. It's just a short breath in the life, and it'll go back into nature. So as soon as I stop recording, I'm gonna put this little red panda back outside and get on with my day. So I wish you all luck. Yeah, and hopefully you find this also somewhat relaxing and enjoyable. I would just say come up with a pattern, come up with an image that feels natural to work on so that maybe you do enjoy it a little bit. Cool, good luck.